What's up, everybody? A Sparrow with a Gun here from Sleepless Nights with another episode on Space Engineers. When we left off in the last episode, we built this kind of room area here, it's been kind of dubbed the control room for the drill and whatnot, although it has been pointed out to me that it's like it didn't really need one. I know, it just actually let me do something interesting with this area. And plus we can eventually, have some cool display things here just about the drill as opposed to the upstairs or the main base area that's kind of going to be the overall base information. But the weird thing is, in the last episode, we put these glass panels up here on the top part of the grid, and it wasn't sealed. The vent wouldn't fill the room up. And I logged in today, and this happened. So, not too sure how that worked. Because it wasn't sealed at one point, and now it's sealed. Now, I do need to preface this. I did add a couple of mods in here, but I don't know that there was anything that would affect it. So I added the concrete mod, which is basically a voxel hand thing, alternative for basically survival mode. Which uses gravel and stuff. I think it's actually just gravel to basically create... actually, I wonder if it should be in here, if I did everything right. So we have a concrete tool, but I don't know, I guess that's just made in an assembler or whatever. And then you've got the add concrete, replace, all the different controls and whatnot. But it's basically a survival voxel hand, so I thought that would come in handy. I added the paint gun mod, which basically does the same thing as that color changing block, the color replacer, except that it's a raycast type thing, like you're shooting a gun. So rather than trying to figure out what block it is, you can just kind of point and shoot, and it also uses gravel. I was basically finding things that used gravel. I also added the tier system, although apparently I do have the progression mode still enabled. I didn't know that. And so I have to make an assembler tier 2 first, which I think you have to do anyway because you need this one to make the tier 2 motors or something, or have access to something or whatnot, the tier 2 components. But if you're not familiar with that mod, I'm just kind of diving into it. I haven't really dealt with it before, but it basically advances everything but makes them more expensive, and it adds modded materials and all that kind of stuff, but it eventually gets pretty redonkulous. So there's that. And then I did add one other mod, the concrete or gravel sifter. Now, I had a bit of a mixed reaction on bringing up the sifter thing before because I just needed something to get rid of all the frickin' gravel, but I just really didn't want to eject it into space. It seems like such a waste that, to me, in my opinion, in my humble, modest opinion, the developers should make gravel useful for something other than just reactor rods, which you don't use very often because you don't go around just building a crap ton of reactors all the time. But when you build drills like this guy, the amount of gravel you get from the stone is insane. So I wanted something to where I could make use of it, hence the paint gun and the gravel, the concrete mod and all that stuff. I'm just trying to find different ways to make use of it. However, this one is a fairly specific sifter that does not give advanced materials. As you can see in the build info in the left side of the screen there, it says mod gravel sifter, no advanced ores. So when you throw gravel in here, what you get is a mixture of iron, nickel, and silicon, which is not different. That's not any different from actual stone. And you get some cobalt. You do get some magnesium, which I don't think I've actually found in the wilds yet. So that could be considered a little bit of a game breaker type of thing, or an imbalance or whatever. But as far as I know, all magnesium's used for is to make ammo. So I'm not too concerned with that. And you do get some ice, which to me, I'm kind of like, okay, well, that just makes it easier that I don't have to deal with all the ice. Or, have to hunt for ice all the time. there is a gigantic patch of ice somewhere here on the moon. I could set up a drill and mine it or whatever, but that little bit may just be helpful. But you don't get things like platinum, uranium, silver, gold, etc. and so on. So we do still have to explore and find other places. So let me know what you guys think about that. I'm going to let it go this episode, but I'm going to kind of just leave that one there and not do anything too crazy with it. Also, efficiency-wise, I'm pretty sure you have to have like 100,000 gravel before you get 900 iron, or something to that effect. So when I read it in the description, it felt pretty balanced to me, especially with the fact that you don't get anything super crazy other than... The only things, honestly, to me, that were a little bit anti-exploration was the ice and magnesium and maybe the cobalt, but we haven't seemed to have too much of a problem finding cobalt. And it's like the ice and stuff. I've been going down there and drilling and all that kind of stuff to get ice, but if you get a little bit out of the gravel, I don't see that as game-breaking. I do agree with the sentiments that as I looked into it more, the fact that you could get uranium and platinum and all that kind of stuff, that does kind of make it, I mean, with the number of gravel that you're getting from drills like this, does make it a little bit ridiculous. So, for moi, and I don't know what's happening here. This is weird. Oh, there it goes. Okay, never mind, false alarm. I was gonna say, when I first opened these doors, it says low, but when I did it before then, the vents and everything were like trying to fill up the air, or the room. Wow. Does anyone else notice these oxygen tanks are redonkulously full all of a sudden? I know I've said that twice in one episode, it's weird. That's really odd to me. Like, I know I left the game running a lot the last few times so that it could refine some of the ore, but that seems intense. Anyway, one of the things that I want to focus on this episode, I may start with this guy just so we're not tampering with the main assembler that's also somewhat buried under here. But I think what we're going to try and do is convert one of these assemblers to a tier 2, and that way we can... I can already make the tier 2 motors, but then I've seen in the YouTube videos you get a little tab here that you can access new tier things, and that should help us move along, because one thing I thought about doing is actually converting these. I think this right here is the main focus of the tier system, honestly, for me. I'm going to try and convert a lot of this stuff into higher tier things so I can do more with the same space, is kind of the idea. The thrusters and all that are cool, but I'm not all that concerned about that yet. So I think we're going to work on this for a moment, or for a minute, and then go from there. Okay, so I'm a bit of a dum-dum on occasion. So I kept trying to figure out, well, man, how do I get all this squared away and blah blah blah. And apparently I need to change the size on this screen again because we're cutting off some of the inventory here, but oh well. So a couple of updates have happened. One, I went ahead and left these on the ground on accident. But I went ahead and replaced, or added, rather, the tier 3 assembler, since kind of one of those I could, so I did. I also disabled the progression thing because it was getting in the way with, like, you had to build a wind turbine in order to get to the tier 3 assemblers and blah blah blah, so finally I was just like, phooey, I don't care. So now we've got access to basically anything as long as we can make the materials for it. Now, the reason I also didn't care about this is because the tier mod, which I forget the name of it, but it's, this one. Oh, there's different skins to it. That's interesting. Low temperature sign. Huh! I didn't even know about that. But it's this, whatever the... It's like Lord Wyaders or something, tiered system? I don't remember. But anyways, it's got kind of a built-in progression system anyway, in that, for those of you, again, this is mainly for people that don't know about it. If you do, then I apologize for babbling. But if you go into the production tab, you've got the tiered components, but in tier 2, you can make a tier 3 assembler, but the rest of it is all tier 2 components, like motors and whatnot. But when you get to the tier 3, then you can make tier 3 components, and then there is tier 4 assemblers, and apparently that's kind of the color for 4. So, but it's saying Mark III for missiles. I didn't even realize that it had tiered ammo. I mean, I know that the mod said tiered everything, but good lord, that's a lot. So, anyway, so you have to basically make the assemblers in a sequence so that then you can progress. Now, they get, as you might think, they get progressively more expensive. So it's like they build up the regular components, but then they also add, like this one has, now they have alloy plates, if you notice that, and that's something that gets added by the mod. Tier 5 is metal plates, and then so on and so forth. And then you get into the, apparently, air quote, tier 6 and 7 legendary, and you get, it's actually a really cool mod, because I didn't know this, but it actually adds a loot system as well, in that you can get tiered components off of cargo ships, and some of the tier 7 legendaries say you have to disassemble them to access them, or something to that effect. So they essentially turned it into a loot system. You have basically the blue, yellow, legendary, you know, rare, etc., epic, whatnot. But it occurred to me, why am I being stupid in working on I mean, I needed the assemblers, but why am I focused on the refineries and all this when there's cargo containers? And I was like, well, I'm gonna replace these eventually. Okay, but in the meantime, just build one. So, I went ahead. I don't think you can... yeah, it's right there. You can kind of see it right above the shooting star. I added a tier 3 cargo container, which... I need access to the inventory. If you can see here, the regular vanillas are 421. That's per my settings. I think I have them set higher just to make things a little easier. But if I go to the tier 3 cargo container, it's 567. And they weren't terribly more expensive, other than the, I mean, even the motors. It's only 35 tier 3 motors, which wasn't that bad, but it was basically like a few more things on each thing. And then, like, this one had interior plates, this one has interior and steel, and so they weren't really that bad, especially the tier 3 ones, and we got an extra 100,000 storage. So that seems to have taken the edge off in terms of now, as you can see here, we're at 82%, so things are back to kind of moving a little bit. So I've been definitely having to inventory manage. We've just got too much crap right now. But I digress. So one of the things also, okay, this one's a little bit more empty. Cool. I needed a place to store those. See, now we've actually got a few of the containers that have some room in them so things can be moved around. The other thing that I thought was kind of neat about the Sifter that we added, which again, if in the next couple episodes, I don't always see it right away due to the Patreon release system that I've got going on, but eventually, if I see your comments or Discord communications or whatever that basically say we don't think the Sifter is okay, even though it doesn't give advanced ores, it's still kind of iffy, then we can remove it. But for now, I'm just going to let it take up some of the gravel. I also wonder if that's why these are full now. The hydrogens don't seem to be filling that much, but oxygen comes in way faster from ice. And I'm wondering if because that is producing ice, if it's actually filling up the stuff. Actually, that's not a bad idea to check. Where is our O2? These are tanks, but where's our generators? So the shooting star one's running. It's got a couple that are running. I don't see the moon... Oh, the moon base doesn't have generators. That's right. Okay, so what about the tanks? They are filling, albeit very slowly, so it's definitely coming through from the ice from the sifter, because I don't have any ice in my other stuff. And these are as well, but really slowly. However, I imagine that the O2 ones are going pretty bananas, so... And these are full. Oxygen doesn't seem to take too long to fill up. The hydrogen one, however, takes a minute. But so yeah. The other thing is I do want to eventually upgrade the refineries here. I'm just not sure how I want to do it. Oh, one thing I started to say about the sifter, if we keep it, it is set up like the assembler where we can add modules to it. I'm going to leave these alone for a minute because the modules here weren't even finished, so there really wasn't a whole lot of a point in leaving them there. And they just kind of got in the way, and on top of that, I'm going to probably be replacing these back and forth until they're at, like, the whatever high tier things are. At some point I want to replace this one under here, but I feel like we're going to just keep leapfrogging these until I get one of them up to, like, the high tier ones. Now, one thing that this is kind of a problem, kind of not, is you'll notice these aren't full, even though they are connected to the conveyor system. What's happening is because they are a modded block, Izzy's script doesn't recognize it. So that's something that I've got to play around with, is there is a way in Izzy's script to set flags for... ooh, what do we got here? Couldn't move all items. Okay. Couldn't move ore stone from refinery to check conveyor connection, or... I don't think that's an issue. I think that's a there's no room at the inn kind of thing. Anyway, but yeah, there's a tag in Izzy's script that you can set so that it will learn a block, but I'm going to deal with that later. For now, we just have the one assembler that's basically tied into the inventory management system. These two are not. Technically, this one probably is too, but it's flagged for disassembly, so even though it's storing stuff in here, whereas these two, I can actually put things in here on my own, not automatically, so there's that. But yeah, I want to... I don't know how to keep the modules intact here. I don't know if... Can I actually build against these? Oh, I need actual plates, don't I? Because what I'm wondering is if I can mount these... You know what, let's go with the second... Let's go with the second one. So we're going to try. This is going to be interesting, because I have no idea if this is going to work or not. And in case you're wondering, I'm actually trying to mount it on that point to the module. This one I'm going to have to just wing it with the local grid. But I'm hoping... In fact, I'm just going to make a quick save here. I'm hoping that those modules will stay there. I'm not super confident in that, but I'm hoping. We're going to dump all this stuff. And actually, since we're down here, we're at 20% on these, we can finally start unloading some of the welders. I was using the welders because I used the lock thing. So basically, Izzy wouldn't mess with that at all. But now that we've got some room, I'd kind of like to clear some of that out. That one's full, that one's not. So, like I said, now that we've actually got some wiggle room, that was the problem with this before, was that we got so much ore right off the bat. The other thing I've been doing is just kind of a quick tip, I suppose, in case anyone is doing anything like this. I just copy this name, and then whenever I replace it or whatever... Oops. Two things there. one. I keep forgetting I didn't seal the floor because the blocks are there to seal it. But the other thing, we're gonna set this to deep pressure. This has also been weird. Like, it's pressurizing, but depressurizes on and it won't do anything. It just keeps filling the room up. I get when it's on not pulling the air in because the tanks are full. I don't get why it'll just pressurize when I've got it set to on. That's really weird to me. I don't understand. But let's go ahead. Also, this doesn't seem to be working either. If I turn the conveyor system off and turn this off, it still, like, fills things up and whatnot. It's really kind of weird. Let's grab you and try and offload this stuff, and hopefully it will stay out of the way. Not too confident in that. Okay, so it's empty at the moment. Wanted to make sure that was empty.
Inventory full.
Okay, well, that's fun. I kind of want to keep some of this, but I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay, good. The modules didn't go anywhere. Sweet. Alright, now, I have access to... Whoa, those require gravity generator components? Okay. Can refine titanium. Now that's an interesting little tidbit here. Can refine titanium. So I'm actually thinking this might have added new ores entirely. That was not something I expected. If you guys are familiar with this mod, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. See, here's the interesting part, though. I see the gravity generators and the motors and all that. There's alloy. I don't see the metal plates anywhere, though. The orange ones. Which concerns me because this needs metal plates. So I'm guessing, even though I can make tier 4 motors and gravity generators and whatnot in an alloy, I can't make the metal because I need the actual orange assemblers. So I think for now we're just going to go with the tier 3. That's what we're going to do. Because like I said, I'm trying to leapfrog these, essentially, where this one goes up, then this one goes up, then this one gets better than this. And that way I've always got one going at one time. That's at least the plan. So I need steel, construction, basically all the same stuff, and then tier 3 motors and alloy plates. Okay. And are these connected without... No. Ooh, that's a problem. So my assemblers are now disconnected. Ugh. Did not think that through. I should have built the components that I needed first. Oh, I've got steel plates on me, okay. Did not think that through. Okay, so we've got that going. Let's go ahead. We're gonna need to come over here and set... What was it that I needed? Wait a minute. There's a little bit of a color thing going on here where this is colored as orange, but it really should be yellow because they're tier 3. That's an interesting little... Something's going on here, because now 4 is red, but I thought 5 was red, so... Okay, I'm going to have to go off of what it says. That's part of the problem, too. I think it needed tier 4 gravity generators or something like that. Anyway, whatever. So, I think we needed, like... Yeah, see, those are yellow. Oh, I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. It's because it doesn't have the materials, so it's redding it out, or whatever, darkening it. I'm dumb. Anyway, you guys are probably yelling at the screen, but I figured it out. I figured it out. Alright, alloy is iron and nickel. That's interesting. So we're going to set that. So, Okay, let me go ahead and do some of this inventory stuff, because I'm going to have to do this manually, since it's not connected to the inventory, and I will come back when we get the refinery set up. Okay, so I got that up and running, and as you can see, we got the little yellow light there to indicate it is a tier 2, or 3, sorry, my bad. Yeah, so that actually worked, and the modules reconnected without an issue, so that's kind of cool. Come on, there we go. So yeah, that's pretty neat, and we can probably do that with this one as well when we're ready. Now, the other thing though is that even the modules have tiers to them, which is pretty crazy to me. And I definitely think this mod is going to add quite a bit more longevity in terms of trying to upgrade things in the base, blah blah blah. This is now full. I can take the helmet back off. So yeah, definitely working. Now the only thing I'm not sure about is I don't know exactly what the difference in the two refineries are. So if we check here, it says obviously this pulls 100 kilowatts more energy, but they have the same module setup in terms of yield and whatnot, so their productivity and efficiency and all that is kind of the same. The storage is the same, the inventory in 7.5 kiloliters, 7.5 kiloliters, that's basically the same. So I'm not entirely sure, other than speed. It's possible that they just work a lot faster. I've noticed this total time is 6 seconds. This one's around 40 something. So it could just be the speed, that it's just cranking through stuff a lot faster. I suppose if I'm looking at the numbers, that does kind of add up, that this one's not moving as much and this one's going... Yeah, so that's probably what it is, where this one's going like 0.4 at a time, this one's going like almost 1.3 or something at a time. So that's probably what it is it's refining things a lot faster. So that's kind of cool. I really like the way that this system works, and honestly, quite frankly, it's something that should probably be in the vanilla game at this point. Like, that is something super simple. I'm not saying it's simple in terms of it didn't take the modder a long time to do it. I just mean the mechanical side. You've already got the block models. You're just changing a few colors, a few stats in the blocks themselves. You're making a few different components. The titanium thing is interesting to me, in that it makes me wonder if now there's asteroids with titanium or something floating around, or if you have to get that from cargo. If you have to get that from cargo, that'd be kind of cool, from cargo ships. That would be kind of neat. It would add a necessity for hunting cargo ships at that point, which would be kind of cool. So I'm almost hoping that it's that instead of finding, whatchamacallit, instead of finding asteroids. That's what I couldn't find the word. Also, one thing that I think is kind of dumb on my part, I have been running back and forth to the shooting star to use the cryo chamber to refill my oxygen and power and hydrogen stuff for a while. And it occurred to me, you might have already seen it, why don't I just add a cryo chamber inside the base? So I did. I mean, it was one of those where I was like, literally, why did it take me so long to figure this out? You know? So now we don't have to leave the base. I can pop in here, refill, and go about my merry way. So that's kind of another cool thing. So, we had talked before about doing the capital ship thing. That's definitely something I want to do, but the crisis of inventory management and overflow of materials was becoming an issue. So, what I think is going to happen is, off camera, I'm going to probably be working more on upgrading the tiers of my stuff. Mainly like the cargo containers and things, so that I may not need as many, but I can hold more stuff. And now that we've got the bottleneck squared away and the refineries are starting to do stuff and things again, I think once we get all of the stone refined and the gravel's being sifted through, or Like I said, I added a few other things, the concrete mod, the paint gun, so I'd keep some around, but if you guys really think that the Sifter, even though it's not giving advanced ores, is still a little game-breaking, then we can just start dumping the gravel. I'll build an ejection port and just dump it in a crater or something. I just wanted to find something that was useful for it, that I wasn't just wasting things, but I definitely didn't want to use the one that gave you platinum and all that kind of stuff, because that, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, yeah, that's a little on the cheaty side. It breaks the need for exploration, whereas this just gives you some ice and other things that you already get from a lot of things. The only real one that I feel, the only two really, is cobalt and magnesium. Ice is kind of a to me, because I'm like, I've got ice all over the place. I would just have to go mine it. This is just being a little more lazy. The cobalt, like magnesium, I haven't actually seen anywhere in an asteroid or anything. I've never actually had this before. So that was a little bit like, I don't know about that one. That could be a little bit on the cheaty side. Cobalt we've run into enough that I didn't feel bad about it. But overall, since magnesium is only really used for ammo, I'm not all that worried about it. It's not like it's not like it broke the game flow. But anyways, the point is, I think off camera I'm going to try and do more upgrades as the inventory system gets more cleaned out and set up, and we don't have so much junk rolling around in the inventory system. But on the episode side of things, I think next time I might hop into creative and be trying to design start working on designing a capital vessel, I think, and then we'll start building it. Once I know kind of the rough size of the design of the ship, then I may switch gears back to survival, and while I'm designing it off camera or something like that, then I may build an area to dock it so that I can start working on it in survival or something like that. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments or on Discord or whatever. But in the meantime, I think that's going to do it for this episode, so we're going to wrap things up here. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, and I will see you all next time. Peace.